Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to be going over a custom mob boss spell. The spell will be called Laser Beam, and let's go into a quick demonstration of how it works. So all we need is some sort of entity. For our example, we just want to have it specified as Archon, as our boss. And let's make sure that it is running. And if we are in adventure mode, when he casts a spell, it'll come right wherever the player is. It'll track me wherever I'm going, and it will deal damage to me. Now what's cool about this is we are actually able to punch it back. If we get the timing right. We're able to punch it back. Whoops. If we time it correctly, we can punch it back, and it will actually deal damage to the boss and track wherever he's going. Alright, let's go over kind of how we do that. So, what's triggering it is whenever this block is set to a redstone block. So we're using this with only commands, by the way. Over here is optional. We just have a little dialogue section. So the first step is we want to execute at the boss. So that's our tagged entity, Archon. We just want to summon an armor stand. Like one block above where he is. It doesn't really matter where you summon it. You can summon it higher if you want, but I want it to like shoot out of his face. And a marker so that the armor stand can't be interacted with. It'll be invisible. And we want to make sure we tag it so we know which armor stand we're talking about. So mine, the armor stand is the Laser Beam Archon. Once we do that, we want to summon an interaction entity. So it's the same thing. We're executing at the boss. It's our tagged. We're going to summon an interaction with a width and height of 1. So it's about the size of a normal block. And we're summoning it right at the same location. Well, now we are right at the same location as where the armor stand is summoned. And the tag for this one is just Laser Beam. So Laser Beam by itself is the interaction. Laser Beam Archon is the armor stand. So that's two different entities we want to keep track of. And then this is just for the cosmetic aspect. We just want to do it right at the boss. We want to run a particle. This is just like the red particle we see that like gives the visualization of it. And then we get a little play sound. All we're doing is playing it at the armor stand. We're just doing the beacon ambient noise with a pitch of 2, so it plays faster. And then this one will just reset this back to a wool block so it no longer powers it, so we can do this over and over again. The repeating commands that we need to have active, we need to be checking. So we're going to execute as the laser beam, so this is the armor stand. We're checking to make sure it's not deflected yet. If it's not deflected, it'll be running at its location. We're going to be teleporting itself about 0.4 blocks to whatever direction it's facing, and it's always going to be facing the nearest entity. So on that own, whenever it summons it, the armor stand is just going to be teleporting almost half a block very, very fast. So it will move it at a decent pace. So if you want to change how fast it's going, you would do it here. So it's going to be facing the entity. Next up, we want to be executing as, so this is the armor stand. At the armor stand, we want to teleport our interaction. We need our interaction to always be where the armor stand is, so that when we punch it, we can detect that we punched it, so that we can deflect it. So it's always going at the armor stand, one block higher, so that's where the eyes of the armor stand are. Really, for the location-wise, you want to make sure it's just wherever you're playing the particles, because this is the part where you're interacting with it. So The armor stand is 2 blocks tall. So if we're playing our particle up here, we want our interaction to be up here. So at this tilde is down at the feet. So if it's up 1, we're playing it at the eyes. It doesn't really matter which one you do. Just stay consistent with it so that your players can see and interact with it. So if it's up 1, we want to make sure we keep doing that. Now, whenever we want to detect if the interaction's been attacked or not, we want to execute as the interaction, right, which is our laser beam tag, on attacker. So if we want to detect if we're left clicking, it's on attacker. For right clicking, it's on interaction. So for mine's the attacker because we're going to be left clicking or punching it or swinging a sword at it. We want to go ahead and tag our armor stand to be deflected. And we notice that it's only going to be facing the player when it's not deflected. So now that we know it's deflected, we're going to come back later to another command block where it'll be teleporting it if it is deflected. And once we identify that it's been deflected, we want to go ahead and remove the data of attacked so that this doesn't keep spamming it, and it will just slow it down. So to do that, we execute as the interaction. We just got to remove the data of the attacked, so it'll forget the information of who attacked it because we don't need that anymore, so there's no point in storing it. Next up, laser beam attack. That's the damage. So the next one we can take a look at is we're going to be executing at the armor stand, which is our laser beam. We want to damage any player, so the nearest player within 1 blocks of the armor stand. So wherever the laser beam is, if they're within 1 blocks, they'll get damage, and this is where we damage it. And we can change who the damager is, so the boss will be damaging us. And once it does that, we want to make sure we kill the armor stand and kill the interaction. So we just do like both like that. Make sure they're on conditional. Otherwise, as soon as it spawns, it'll just kill the armor stand and the interaction. Next up, we're going to be executing at the armor stand. But this is the one that is deflected. This will make sure that we damage the boss by the player, so the player gets the credit for the boss. And then this is going to head and kill the armor stand and then kill the interaction, so it's just the exact same as this one. So this one will damage the boss, this one will damage the player. And then over here, we're going to be executing at the armor stand. This is our particle, so it's just the same particle as before. It's 1 block up, same areas where the interaction is, and it'll just display the red particles. And then over here is where we're teleporting the laser beam that is deflected to go towards the player. So we're just going to execute as the laser beam. So that's the armor stand. And then we want to do it at itself. Then we're going to run teleporting itself, the same speed, and then we're going to be facing entity, the nearest entity that is the boss, which is our tag equals archon. So once it happens, it'll go right to the boss. I will probably link all the commands and what they need to be in the description, as it was quite a few. You can always pause to read them all. But that'll do it for this one. If we want to go over, I'll probably go over how to set up like a boss room with just commands in a future video. But this one will just be going over a laser beam that we can deflect that the boss shoots.